Hello, Mindful Seer people. This is Kristen Geeslin, Mindful Seer, speaking to you from the west coast of Florida, where we have been experiencing Hurricane Helene for the last little chunk of time. But I did want to come on and continue our Eclipse series of readings for the collective. We are starting the third cycle. This is day 1 of the third cycle, which interestingly and synchronistically enough is B. And B is for body, and that includes your physical body, how your cash flows, and where you live. So interesting that that's lining up with many people in Florida today having to face different situations with water and coming into their homes. Some people may lose their homes, especially in the direct hit area closer to Tallahassee in the panhandle of Florida. And I am on the Gulf Coast near Tampa, in the Tampa Bay area. And we do have many people living around Tampa Bay. So all of that water went up much further than it normally does in a storm surge. And people don't have, the kind of setup, to manage that. So it's coming in. A lot of people have water today. And so let's just see what we can see from the baking bowl of belief. This is my baking bowl of belief. And I pull cards from here to see what is going on, either with individuals or the collective, depending on what kind of intention I've set, what kind of a reading I'm doing. And we are following through with the third cycle of a series where I'm going through the 5 different areas of my B.E.I.S.M coaching system. This system checks out what's going on at 5 different frequencies. We have B for body, E for emotions, I for intellectual life, S for spiritual journey, and M for mastermind. And so we just completed 2 cycles of that, starting with the eclipse of the moon. We'll be completing on October 2nd, which is when there will be a partial eclipse of the sun. Okay, so let's see what we're getting, what kind of guidance from the higher energies relative to how to manage, deal with, respond to, be for ourselves and for the people that are in our communities. Okay, and oh, wow, interesting. This card has come out before. This card came out last week as a bonus card. It says, take a risk. Go out on a limb. That's interesting. Okay, so even though people have already just come through, a potentially scary situation, they're being encouraged. You are being encouraged to take a risk. Well, what does that mean? Let's see what that could mean. And I'm going to look at the card. Believe in you. Take a risk. Believe in you. So for some folks, it's going to be a lot for them to interface with FEMA and all of the support systems that could, help them through this time. So, there might be an opportunity to improve one's property, or maybe some people, it's time for them to change, to relocate, to go someplace different. Maybe if they're losing a home or their home is going to require a lot of work and they were thinking about moving anyway, maybe this is a time for them to relocate. So those are some things that, you wouldn't necessarily plan on doing, at the time of a hurricane. But that's what our baking bowl belief, our higher energy guides are coming through with. Take a risk. And for the rest of us whose houses are intact and everything's capiche, it might be a good time for us to see how we could get out of our normal comfort zone and see how we can assist people who are going to be having to deal with a lot of change and transition right now. Of course, this is, I'm thinking so much about my local area because, this is powerful here. But we know these things are happening, a lot more frequently around the world. A lot of major weather events have occurred recently. We've had a lot of fires. So this idea that sometimes when the physical level is disrupted, it presents an opportunity for change and transformation. I had something like that in 2009. The house that I'm living in now was experienced a total loss house fire. And I had been at a place in my life where I was feeling very stuck and things felt overwhelming and I really wasn't enjoying my life. And I had been sort of, reaching out to the universe to say, hey, can we change things up? And boy, did I get that. So when this house burned, it was sort of like the beginning of a catalyst for a whole bunch of different changes that ultimately led to the opening of my intuitive psychic gifts because a couple of things. One, I think there was so much change and transition that my left brain just got tired and it sort of stepped away from the main stage, so to speak. And so the intuitive abilities that I were sort of developing all throughout my life had more space to express themselves. And I was going through menopause at the same time, which is traditionally a time when women go into their sage part of their life, and their gifts often open around that time. So I'll go out on a limb, believe in you. This is the White Squirrel deck. I call this the Just Do It deck. It's a little card. It's created by James Wanless, as are all of the different decks that I use in my Baking Bowl of Belief that you will see. If you have seen the series, you'll see them. I've pulled a lot of Sustain Yourself deck cards, which is this one here. This particular card, okay, so this is the Earthiness and Soil card. I'm always interested to see what pops out when I do a random, just touch a card randomly. So this is adjacent, sort of Spirit sometimes wants to give us something else. And yes, certainly when we come through something that's very intense, like this weather event, it is very we need grounding because we had all that air energy. And I don't feel as grounded as I normally do. I went outside this morning and picked up branches and stood on the earth in my bare feet to get more grounded. So yes, I would say perhaps at the same time we are taking some new risks. All right, this is a good time to take risks. We also have to stay grounded, and we want to take risks that I don't quite want to use the word calculated, but I would say inspired risks. So that might be something you've been thinking about doing for a while and you put on the back burner. That might be, reaching out to someone that you are disconnected from, but you feel like you'd like to reconnect with. Let me just take a look. And the green, there's a lot of green in this. It's sort of a dreamy green, like Matisse, okay? It's not a real defined image. The green here is kind of dreamy. And so sometimes if we are going to take a risk, we have to do some dreaming before we really know what it is that would inspire us. The direction for the risk might have to be, we might have to cultivate some space to entertain what that risk might be. It might not be like we just know, oh, I'm going to do this. We might have to take some quiet time and go a little bit deeper through journaling or through art, through checking out what was maybe revealed to us in a dream. I had a dream recently where one of my friends who is in sort of a similar situation as I am, she lives with a family member. She was teaching me Portuguese, even though she's Hungarian, because the similarity, the messaging around that was, go ahead and have some adventures. She's on a trip right now. So, man, she came right through in the dream as a representative of something I might want to consider. So your dreamy nature comes through sometimes in dreams. It can come through in journaling. It could come through in daydreaming. It could come through just in, querying yourself. What is there anything I kind of wanted to do that I haven't gotten to? Okay, so these are the cards for today. This is the B card for the week. B is for body, and I'll go through the system one more time. So B is for body and everything physical. That includes your cash flow and where you live. E for emotions, I for intellectual life, S for spirit soul journey, and M for mastermind. And I am also offering right now virtual B.E.I.S.M and theta healing sessions, mini sessions, which I usually only offer in intuitive fairs or when I do events at the various places where Phantom History House is one of those places in Oldsmar, Florida, where I do work intermittently, and we have some new stuff coming up next year. So keep your eyes out for that. You can join my email list if you'd like, if you go to my website, mindfulseer.com. And so tomorrow we're going to check into the emotions to see, what spirit has, what kind of guidance spirit has for us in terms of how to sort of create resiliency in our emotional life. So the way the E card reads in this coaching system, the intuitive development and mindfulness method, it's more like, it's not like reading all the time your day-to-day emotional state. It's more like how is your life and the choices you're making, your values aligning to support your emotional wellness, across many days. And sometimes things pop out that are momentary, like if something disappointing has happened, that might show itself in a card. But really the system, as it speaks to me and reveals itself, has shown that what comes up in the E spot, which we'll do tomorrow, has more to do with how to create resiliency, for your emotional life. And I'm just feeling like I want to take one more card because this was kind of like a crazy energy day. Still, there's a lot of energy still moving outside in the Tampa Bay area. Lots of activity, lots of sirens. There's going to be a lot of emergency service activity, I'm sure, for days to come. A lot of people are still out of power. So let me just see for here and for whoever watches this video coming up today and in the next few days. Okay, anything extra that we need to be aware of at this time during this transformation eclipse phase? Okay, wow, yep. Okay, so the tower shows itself, and for those of you that are tarot people, you know that the tower means endings. And a lot of times people are not delighted to see the tower. But on the other hand, if we don't let things fall apart, we're never able to get anything new in our life. So when we see the tower, that generally means that something in our life it's time for that thing to go so that we can get something new that aligns with our values better. Oh, that's so funny. I'm getting an itchy palm now. I wonder if that's the, money is coming thing. Very interesting. So yeah, 3 interesting cards today. So our main card was, so we have this, the risk card, then we had earthiness and soil, and then we have the tower. So peace and happy, everybody. I will be back tomorrow, and we'll check to see what's going on, how we can support our emotional wellness through all this change and transition of the eclipse phase between the eclipse of the moon and the eclipse of the sun that's coming up on September 2nd. Peace and happy.